This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Welcome back to the Center in the City podcast. I'm your host, Wade Brill, and I am so glad you are here. This podcast is designed to support you finding your center amid the busyness of life, amid all of the twists and turns that life takes in unexpected and expected ways, knowing that no matter what, we can come back to our centers. On today's Soul Podcast episode, we are taking a mindful moment together and reflecting on our summer. As summer begins to wind down and this seasonal transition is very much starting to be in the air, explore how winding down from summer can support us transitioning into fall more intentionally. So wherever you're listening to this podcast episode, on a walk, cooking, driving, I welcome you to settle in and let's get centered. I started to sense the seasonal shift last week. And here we are in August, and we know that after August comes September, October, November, December, January, right? We know the flow of the calendar. And because we know the flow of the calendar, we're also very familiar with the cycles and seasons of life. However, we've talked about this before on the podcast, especially when it comes to New Year and January 1 and setting intentions for the year. Our calendar is very much man-made. It's made up as a way to create some organization and structure, and of course to support capitalism and education and all of the systems that run a lot of our societies in the world. But it's really interesting because if I didn't look at the date, if I didn't know it was August, I still feel like I would have this sense of seasonal shift awareness. And what happened last week was that the morning started to be really cool and the nights started to get even colder. And it was like, oh, this is happening. Wow, this energy, this season is coming to a completion and we're going to step into fall really soon. And then this week, it is really hot. We're kind of having a mini heat wave here in Seattle. But even though the temperature is hot, I can still sense that fall is around the corner because the light looks differently. Seattle specifically has a lot of sun in the summertime, which very much contrasts to the gray, shorter, darker days of fall and winter. Paying attention to the summer sun, I started to notice over the 12 years I've been here that the light starts to get warmer. It starts to be a little bit more orangey glow in the fall. And I believe this is true probably universally, that the fall sun is more of that golden kind of crisper sun. It's closer to the earth. It starts to move, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, the sun starts to move and set further south. So I started to see all these signs of nature around me and I was like, it brought up so much inside me, like, I'm not ready for the summer to be over. I'm not ready to step into fall. This was a great opportunity for me to even notice my overwhelm archetype start to show up, because when that sense of overwhelm and panic starts to happen of like, oh wait, like this isn't what I decided, or this is so much, or what's happening. That's how I experience overwhelm in my body. I want to control it. So here this impulse, and that's my archetype. The main archetype is my controller side. And if you haven't taken the quiz yet, feel free to do it. It's for free. You can check it out at wadeburrell.com/quiz. And when I started to notice that inner kind of, I'm not ready, I wanted to grip. I wanted to tighten my fist on summer. I wanted to hold on to it, knowing these last few weeks of August are precious. And I can already feel that back to school energy creeping up, where we switch into fall and life feels like it gets a lot more serious and structured, which of course has its pros and its benefits as well. And I really do love fall. It's one of my favorite seasons. But that first initial like, I'm not ready was really interesting to watch. And instead of going into like manic mode of, oh my God, I need to do all these other things and I need to really juice the rest of summer and, trying to lead from that controlling place, I took a breath. I even placed like my hand on my heart to just acknowledge that tender place inside of me that was scared, like was nervous of summer being over, nervous for that transitional phase. And I then had this opportunity to rest back and go through a little bit of this reflection process that I'm about to guide you through. So we're going to use this opportunity as we feel and sense the seasonal shift as that opportunity to pause and explore and do a little bit of a reset, a sense of honoring of what do you want to celebrate, what occurred over the summer, letting go of any regrets, and intentionally stepping into this new season, feeling that you can also be at peace with what was and have some more clarity of where you get to put your focus and energy. So if you are in a place where you have the capacity to journal, I welcome you to grab your journal, grab the note section of your phone, send yourself a text, an email, and I'm going to share a couple of reflection prompts with you. If you're on a walk, feel free to take some notes and pause this recording as you're listening, or you can just walk with these questions and notice what comes up for you. As you think back to these last few months of summer, what moments felt really nourishing and joyful and energizing to you? So as you reflect on these past few months of summer, what felt really nourishing, joyful, energizing? For me, what I really enjoyed this summer was the spaciousness of our calendar. We didn't block off a lot of space. We didn't make a lot of proactive plans. We just allowed it to unfold with spontaneity. So maybe it was like grabbing our bikes and biking to the sound and jumping in the sound on really hot evenings. Or maybe it was biking up to a different area and hanging out with some friends. A lot of what brought me joy and energy was being outside, was kind of this playful, exploratory energy of being on my bike, of camping, of having some sort of adventure, whether that's outside the city or just a day adventure or going to a new neighborhood or checking out a new cafe or bakery. I went on a trip to New York this summer. I mixed it with both work and pleasure, and I got some time to see my family back east, and it felt really nostalgic. And I did a lot of things that felt nostalgic, and that felt really comforting. So that was also something really beautiful that stood out. The next prompt, what did you wish you had more of? What did you wish you had more of? So do you wish you had more adventures? Do you wish you had more barbecues? Do you wish you had more backpacking trips? Do you wish you had more pool parties? Do you wish you had more spontaneous adventures? Do you wish you had more sleep, less sleep? For me, I wish I had an opportunity to swim more outside. I definitely spent some time in water and by water, but swimming laps outside is one of my favorite things, especially in the summer. And this summer, I only did it like twice. So that definitely stands out to me as something I wish I had more of. I also wish I had more work. And what I mean by that is I had some events, seeds planted late spring, hoping they would blossom in the summer, and they didn't the way I wanted them to. And so, I wish that I had kind of stuck with it a little bit more and got a little bit more creative and tried to make things work. That balance of letting something go that's not really working and at the same time being creative to get it to the finish line. As you reflect on this last season, which again is not fully over, but as you reflect on the last few months, do any regrets stand out to you? Like, I wish I did this, or I can't believe I did this, or didn't do this, or said that, or wish I didn't. One of my regrets is not being able to see a few people in my life, a few family members specifically, and even seeing a few friends who live in different states. Like, we couldn't pull together a visit this season or meet someplace in a mutual meeting spot. It just didn't get to happen because, life is full and a lot of things we want sometimes don't get to happen. So I definitely have that kind of like, oh, that would have been really sweet if we could have pulled that off. Now, sometimes when I bring up the theme of regret, it can automatically create this like feeling inside of people like, oh, I don't want to go there. That's a dark spot. That's a dark place to go. If I think about regrets, it's going to spiral me down and then I'm going to just be really depressed or blue. But there's so much science around and research around the power of us reflecting on our regrets, the power of us asking these questions, because they help give us answers of how we then want to create steps moving forward in life, or what we want to readjust for, or even what we need to practice forgiving ourselves or others for. In Daniel Pink's book, The Power of Regret, How Looking Backwards Moves Us Forwards, he talks about the research of there's two main types of regrets. So one is action regrets, like getting a tattoo, saying something that you wish you didn't say to somebody, giving away your favorite sweatshirt. Maybe it's taking that job or going on that date with that person. There then is inaction regrets, and we can think of inaction regrets like, I wish I had applied for that job, or I wish I had told that person I love them more, or I wish I took driving lessons more seriously as a young adult. Can you hear that's one of my inaction regrets? And so as you bring these moments to mind of regret of the summer, whether they were actions or inactions, I welcome you to even just note, once you kind of brain dump your list on a piece of paper, or just even again mentally for yourself, but looking at this list, thinking about, is there anything that I want to take personal responsibility for to find more alignment? Meaning, because I didn't tell that person that I love them enough, do I want to text them and tell them that? Is there something that I wish I did or did do that I want to try to make up for right here in the now? So for me, and this is a career-focused regret, I would say an inaction regret is not going for the thing, whatever that thing is, meaning maybe I didn't put my hat in the ringer for a speaking engagement, or I resisted reaching out to that person because of fear of rejection or whatever they might say. And luckily, knowing like knowing this pattern in me and having seen it for many years and being very frustrated at myself for getting held back by them. That's why I'm so passionate about creating power intention words for the year. Like my word is courage, because I get to lean back on it to help me work through some of those blocks to take action that feel better, that feel more aligned with who I want to be. So knowing that as I look back this summer, I'm like, I wish I had, reached out to a couple of more businesses, planted more seeds, had kind of stayed with some of these projects a little bit more and taken them across the finish line instead of just letting them kind of peter out. That's where I can then say to myself, okay, knowing I didn't do that, what can I do now? How do I want to rewrite that quote unquote wrong? How do I want to find an adjustment and a sense of contentment with myself, not from a place of fear, but from this place of deep honoring, of deep wanting? So again, regret isn't a failure. It becomes a lens in which it can give us feedback of how we want to live in more alignment with ourselves. Let me tell you that regrets can become really like detrimental if we don't name them and process them. They can kind of eat at us like termites. They can start to kind of eat at our internal little wooden walls because we're not taking care of them. We're not naming them and allowing us to feel empowered by them as we think about the future. We want to reduce this rumination that regrets can hold on us, this toxic loop. And instead, we want to find the lesson. We want to let the lesson inform us. So I even welcome you to pause here after you've created your list of regrets to then ask yourself, what are these regrets showing me about what matters? What are these regrets showing me, teaching me about what matters to me? And how can I act differently in this next season? So knowing how the summer played out, the things that I did, the things that I didn't do, the things I wish I had done, the things I wish I didn't do, how do I want to take this information and turn this into a lesson? How can I reflect on these regrets and let them teach me what matters? And again, most importantly, how I can take this mattering and turn it into action as I move forward into the next season of my life. And once you've reflected and created your action steps of moving forward, I welcome you to now think about what's one thing that you learned or did this summer that was so important to you, that you really loved, that lit you up, that brought so much joy. What's one thing that you want to carry forward into this next season? So for instance, I forgot to mention this earlier, but one of the huge things that brought me joy, that brought me energy in my life this summer was dancing. It's like, I always know I love dancing, but like going out dancing outside, dancing under the stars. I know that's not possible in every season of life, but making it a priority was so fun. And that's something I want to keep doing moving forward. To be extra specific here, it wasn't just like solo dancing, it's like dancing in community, dancing with friends. So really prioritizing getting together with people, getting together with community and making that happen. Another takeaway that I want to carry with me into the next season, and this is something I think I've learned honestly every summer, and it's something that I've already integrated into the rest of the seasons, but it's again a reminder to keep doing it because it's so important, but is to be outside as much as possible. And I think the summer energy, right? It's really easy to be outside. The days are beautiful or the nights are really pleasant and it's easy and enjoyable. But once the weather starts getting colder or rainier or wetter, it becomes less comfortable. But just because it's less comfortable doesn't mean it's still not enjoyable or it's still not beneficial. And that's one of the reasons I love biking everywhere is because it's also empowered me to spend time outside in any type of weather and really feel the benefits of the elements on my skin and my face. So I'm somebody that keeps walking in the fall, in the winter, because I know that being outside is so important for my well-being, and getting myself out the door, no matter the temperature, no matter the climate, is really empowering. I think a really beautiful, as we bring this episode to a close, a really beautiful visualization and even a ritual you can do for yourself is to think about this transition space between summer and fall really intentionally, and think about yourself like you're in a threshold. You've got 1 foot still in summer, maybe 2 feet are still in summer, right? My feet aren't yet in fall, but I feel it coming. I see the threshold. I see that doorway. And when maybe the time gets closer, it's like to really feel 1 foot in summer and 1 foot stepping over the threshold into fall. And as you feel that transition space really start to take over, where your weight goes into that forward foot and you're fully now leaning into fall and leaving behind summer, to really pause in that space for even just a few moments and to recognize that transition space and ask yourself, can you fully let go of the regrets from summer, from that back foot? And can you carry with you these insights, these lessons, and these takeaways that bring you joy into the future? And just feeling that in your body of the letting go and the leaning forward into. And feeling that transition, that we get to move forward, that we don't have to stay stuck in the past, that it's extra weight, it's extra burden, and that these seasons, these cycles and seasons of life, even if there is like bittersweetness in them, that they're always happening around us. And so it's like, as a human, can we get better at moving through the transition spaces and allowing ourselves to stay centered or come back to our center amid the change? Stay grounded, stay connected to ourselves. And if you are noticing as you're in the space of reflecting, and if you're feeling overwhelmed, I welcome you to take the Overwhelm Archetype Quiz to explore what your primary archetype pattern is. And then you'll get, after you take the quiz, a specific tailored mindfulness practice for you of how you can move through the overwhelm with some more ease, so that it doesn't paralyze you, or that you can kind of step out of some habitual patterns and try a new way of responding to the overwhelm that is going to be more forwarding for your mind, your nervous system, your body. You can find that quiz for free at wadebrill.com/quiz. And I would love to hear from you of what is coming alive as you reflect on this episode. Feel free to reach out on Instagram, share with me your takeaways, your regrets, your insights, what brought you joy this summer, what you're taking with you into the new season. I want to hear it all, or feel free to send me a note linked in the show notes. Thank you, as always, for allowing me and welcoming me and this podcast into your ears, your heart, your mind. It is such a gift. I know your attention is precious, so I feel really honored that you want to share it with us here at Centered in the City. And I welcome you to think about somebody in your life who you think would enjoy this episode, who would enjoy reflecting on the seasonal shift or want some support reflecting on the seasonal shift. Share this episode with them and allow it to be a really empowering conversation starter, and maybe even accountability buddies with each other. Until next time, stay centered.